Welcome to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
Today's episode is about honoring yourself. It starts with honoring yourself, knowing yourself, believing that you're important enough to be the main character in your life.
Wonderful. Why don't you kick us off? I know you had an amazing example of where someone was not honoring themselves.
Absolutely. I was at a friend's house the other week. She's pregnant and she's at about 31 weeks and she started to have early contractions. So I went to visit her because she's on strict bed rest and she's fine and she's resting and like things are getting much better. And I asked her how her summer was and she said, "Oh, it was lovely. I don't want to be negative." I was like, "It's me, you can be negative." And she told me how it was really hard because the whole time they were away, everything, all the organizing, the meal plans, the food prep, looking after everyone was all placed on her shoulders. And she was pregnant and she was hoping that her husband or family or whoever would step up and help her out. And she wasn't getting that. So she was still showing up, doing the things that she had to do, and quietly getting more and more annoyed at not being helped. And I get it, how many of us are in this situation where we're not getting what we want from people and we're waiting for them to start showing up, to read our minds and to know that's what we need. And we chatted and she was like, "Oh, I know it was probably my fault for not asking for what I need." And like, yes, it is. And not in a mean way. How often do we just expect people to show up in a certain way and not think to tell them and not think to ask for what we need and get more and more annoyed? I know I have with my husband, expecting them to read my mind and like, well, he should have done this because that's just what a good man should do. And actually looking back thinking, okay, he didn't know. And it's okay that he didn't know. He's not a mind reader. And in this situation as well, how much better could the time have been if she'd known what she wanted and was able to ask for it, which is a skill that, especially as women, we don't really have. And it's a skill that I'd love our listeners and us and every woman and man to have, this knowing what you need and being bold and being happy to ask for it, and knowing that getting it is just as rewarding and beneficial if you've asked for it and if you haven't.
I'm going to pick apart just one word that you said, so I'm going to apologize before I say it, but I want to point it out. You said the word bold, and I get that, but at the same time, too, I'm like, it's already difficult for us to actually speak out loud, so bold sounds like even more bold.
I said it and I didn't like it. I don't know if you picked up on that, but I was like, bold, ooh, didn't like that word, but I'm going to carry on.
Yeah, it's kind of
interesting
funny.
that's the word you picked out because, yeah, it doesn't have to be this like, I'm a new person, I'm bold. It's you just deserve it for whatever place you are in life and however confident or not you are in asking for what you want. You can ask and you can get.
Yes, I love the idea of being messy, or the word that's coming to me right now is being scrappy about it. So because we're not culturally conditioned to be able to ask for things in a easy way, and predominantly it is women a lot of times, but this does not mean that men don't have it as well. Being able to ask for what we want and what we need is so uncomfortable for us. It's really challenging. And so maybe instead of being bold, being scrappy about it and just being like, "Oh, this feels awkward," and just honoring the fact that it does feel uncomfortable, but you're still going to ask for it anyways. This actually has come up with my clients in the past couple of weeks where they've been talking about certain things and their frustrations of things that weren't going well for them. And when I dive in deeper, I'm able to see it's basically them not asking for what they want. And actually, I take that back. They have asked, or they have stated what they want to do as the service that they're providing, and it's given pushback from the person, and they then retreat back and they don't fully stand in their full belief of like, no, this is the way to do it. And it's that uncomfortableness. It's that, we're not used to exercising a muscle of being able to ask for what we want, what we need, what's appropriate, all of the things. And so we back down. And going back to our topic, this really hurts honoring what we need and being able to show up fully as ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it's like great work in taking the first step of asking for it, but then you've given power back to the other person by letting them say no and you retreating. And actually, you are important. Your needs are important.
Mhm. And I know that I have probably talked about it, but the difference between the why and the what is going to be your first place to infuse this aspect of being able to ask for what you need and actually have it show up. So when exploring with the client that I'm thinking of specifically, she was asking a why question. And I was like, you really need to shift that over to what? And because what the what does and why I'm so passionate about speaking with a what question versus a why question is what now doesn't make you take it on, what gives it right back to the other person for them to be able to like them do their work essentially. And it doesn't mean anything deep, it just means like you don't take responsibility for the question that you're asking them. It's for them to answer, not for you to answer for them. And I think a lot of times, especially as women, we're caretakers by nature and we want to take care of everything. So then that exhausts us. So, really, a place to start honoring ourselves is asking what questions versus why questions, because what makes it about the other person, why makes it about us.
Mm,
An example would be with a spouse. I'll be like, why did you do that? And I know that he feels attacked
mm,
because I can hear it. I know how important words are. So when I'm saying, why did you do that? He's going to now come back at me. And I don't want the leash of him coming back at me. So I have learned that as it comes out, it's okay to correct it in the moment and I'll change it. What made you decide to do that would be an example of the difference between a why and a what. So the why would be, why'd you do that? Versus what made you do that? So,
mm,
see, even in that language alone, I'm now saying, what made you do that? Is now I'm letting him come into a place of deciding and answering it from his perspective, not an attack where he would come right back at me. They're similar, but they're different because
mm.
one feels attack versus the other one puts him involved in the conversation.
Yeah, and it comes more from a curious place of, okay, what's
Yes,
going on for you? How do you see this situation? I see it in this way. How can we discuss this and come to a ground that works for us both? Like
absolutely.
mutually together communicating.
Hmm. Yes. And so I don't even know why I got on the why and the what, but I think it's going back to the honoring yourself. Thank you to myself
Hmm.
for remembering. But it's in order to honor ourselves, we need to not pick up other people's energy. And it starts with our conversations that we're having and the words that we're using. So when we're asking why, like an example would be like, why does nobody ever think of me? This is the one I always go to. Like, I actually, transparency, I've been thinking of that. I reach out to people, but people don't just ask me random questions, or they do, and I don't acknowledge it. And it's interesting because then I'm like, oh, I feel bad for me. So,
Yeah. So how often do we do that? And it's about the making up stories again of
mhm,
the like these things are happening to me and I'm making them mean something instead of what is it that I need and how do I go and get it? I'm craving social interactions right now. So I can A, sit here and be really upset and annoyed, why is no one reaching out to me? Or I can reach out to someone that I want to have a conversation with and assume they're going to be really happy to speak to me as well. And that's the difference between getting what I need and sitting waiting for someone to give me what I need when they're off doing their own thing and not necessarily in a bad I've forgotten you way, just in it everyone has their own lives and lives get busy and complicated. And therefore if you want something, honor yourself enough to ask for it. When you have girl chats and there's someone that's like, oh, my boyfriend did this and he planned this intricate surprise and there were roses and songs and all these things. And it can lead everyone else to be like, oh, mine never did that. Why is my boyfriend not as thoughtful? Or I never get flowers or I never get blah, blah, blah. And it can really lead you into this place of what you don't have, which one
Hmm.
makes you ignore all the things that they do and the way
Hmm.
they show you love. And it can have you lusting after something you don't actually want in the first place. It's just this, you're getting dragged away. And it could also be a pointer of, oh, maybe this is what I want. And I just haven't asked for it. Maybe my partner, friend doesn't know that that's what would be really special to me. And what if I asked for that? What would happen then?
What I love about that too, the second approach that you were talking about of like, what do I want and so forth, that's more of a curiosity thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think in normal situations, instead of being curious, we're not necessarily being curious. We're just like expecting it to happen. We don't play in a space of curiosity a lot. And so that was a really great example of how can we pull back of like, I can't believe they didn't do this to what is it I want? And have I asked for that? You can't receive what you can't ask for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which then goes back to this knowing thyself. Like,
Yes,
who
yes.
am I as a person and what is it that I actually want? And that's so important because you can send out signals subconsciously that are telling people what you want and need. So I had a client and she had a lot of stuff happening at once and she was really upset about how her family weren't there for her and didn't show up. And what we figured out was that she wears this badge of, I don't need anyone's help. I can do it all on my own. Like, I got this. I don't need you. And that's been her thread throughout her life. Her sister was the one that needed everything, got all the support, and she was the one that was on her own. And that worked until there was something that actually was like, I just need my mum. Why isn't my mum just coming to me? And I said, have you asked her? No, she should just know. And I was like I had to say that you have I don't need help stamped right across your forehead. So if you want help, you need to ask for it. And it doesn't make the help any less like nice and feelies. And it's like this thing that we don't even realize, like we portray what we need. So if we're
Hmm.
not getting what we need, it's because we're portraying that we don't need it.
Hmm.
And that's the key. So know yourself. I really like social interaction. So I'm walking down the street and I'm open. I'm not listening to music. I am wide open for people to interact with me. And they do. I smile, I chat, I have random conversations with random people everywhere I go. Because all over me is talk to me. I'm northern, I'm weird, I love chatting. And so I get those chats. And then I speak to someone else and they're like, oh, everyone in this place is miserable and no one ever chats. And I'm like, do you chat to them? No. And it's this, you, what you're looking for, you find.
Hmm. Yeah, I do want to go back to the whole reason that we came with this topic. We
I
wanted
know,
to
I just
talk.
got very excited about this.
I
It's like,
know
example,
it's been
example,
great.
example.
It's been great. Initially, self-advocacy was the original topic that you and I were going to discuss, but we wanted to talk more about the honoring oneself because in order to be able to get to a place of self-advocacy and to be able to say what it is that you need and to speak up to that, you have to honor yourself first. So, with the client I was talking about a little bit earlier in the episode, she was working with a client and she had said specifically what was going to work. and what would not work. And the client really wanted what wasn't going to work. Instead of actually being strong about her stance of this is going to work, or when it doesn't work, I'm going to charge you if you want it redone. Instead of offering that up to her, she just was like, okay. So then she ended up redoing it and didn't charge. And so then she was pissed off, rightfully so, because she wasn't honoring her boundary in the sense of, I told you. I literally told you it would not work, and you still wanted that. When the other person gives a pushback, we don't stand firm in our faith and stand up for ourselves. What that does is that starts to chip away at our personal confidence, and it makes us question ourselves. This is not just a one incident. This happens elsewhere where we say something, we then get pushback, and then we are like, oh, okay, that's fine, that's fine. And we're no longer honoring ourselves anymore. And that is an issue because now we can't speak up and stand in our truth and really play big. We then push back and we start playing small. And so, what did you take from that? Would you hear from that? Any like awesomeness?
Well, my first thought was when she like initially said her idea, how confident was she in it? And was there a hint of I'm not sureness? Because I think the more you show up as I am the expert, this is what I need, this is what you need, this is what this situation needs, the
Yeah.
more people say, okay, I trust you. And if there's any sort of shakiness of like, oh, I'm saying this thing, but I'm not sure, then it's more likely that it gets pushed back. And there are always going to be these people that it's their way no matter what. And that's a different kettle of fish altogether on how to deal with these people. But that was my first thought. So it was, how much are you honoring yourself in your beliefs? And it's really hard to fully believe in yourself when you have these doubts and real human emotions that are going on at the same time.
Well, I think your question is a really great one. It goes back to that confidence piece that I was talking about. The confidence is shaken when we get pushback. And you're right, there are the people that are going to push forward and they're like, it's my way or the highway. So that could have been the case. But how do we get back in touch with ourselves, going back to know thyself? And that's where the language I was able to support her with was, if you put in there, I'm going to do this the way you want it. And if it's not correct, now you're going to pay for the redo. When
Even that would have a difference in how it might have gone down. Because with
totally
that, she's like, if we're doing it my way and it fails, then that's on you.
right,
Whereas there was no repercussion for the other person to have it their way.
right, right. Well, there's this weird thing where like if there's a cost associated with it, not just a oh oops, an oopsie.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a cost associated, people will think a little bit deeper
Mm-hmm.
because now it's back on them. Do you want to make this decision? You're going against what I've said. Do you want to make this decision? The cost will be on you, not on me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And this is why the choosing, so the power of choosing comes into everything. Even when you're not choosing, you're choosing. Because
Yes. Yes.
every little thing that you do and you think and you put out there is all making life happen and pan out in a certain way. If you start to take control of your life and your situation, then you get to make these small choices that add up to you living a life that's fully chosen, designed, and one that's going to make you like joyful, happy, whatever
Mhm.
adjective you're looking for.
Yes.
So, yeah, it starts with honoring yourself, knowing yourself, believing that you're important enough to be the main character in your life. And then I think this takes us nicely to boundaries. I think a lot of people struggle with boundaries. Was
Yes,
that an understatement?
that is the biggest understatement.
It's so important to have boundaries for yourself, for your everything.
Boundaries are such a big thing because we've gotten really weak in them. Boundaries for others and boundaries for yourself. Like, I won't put up with that. I don't have space to tolerate that anymore. Like, I'm not open for that. Boundaries are one of those things that we're not really taught them, truthfully.
Hmm. Yeah. And now it feels like a giant topic.
It does. It is a giant topic.
And I will say, have boundaries. And I think, in terms of an exercise to leave people with, it's this getting to know yourself piece. These are the things that make me feel good and fill me with joy and fill up my cup in one list. And the other list is, these are the things that drain me, that take away
Mm,
my energy, that make me feel bad. And that's your other list. And you have your list and you try and do more of the things that give you energy and fill you with joy, and less of the things that drain you and make you feel bad. And it sounds really simple. And sometimes it's not until we've written it down that we're like, wow, my day is filled with doing all of these things that drains me. No wonder I feel drained. So how can I even take a few off and just add some of these things in? Like, oh, I forgot that being in nature really fills me with joy.
mhm.
For me, one thing that I started to do is do a corral cow. No, I can't say it. A kakuru. It's like a Sudoku, but it's more fun and it's like brain and logic and numbers. So
Okay.
before bed, whatever time I go to bed, I'll put my phone outside the room and I'll get my book and I do one of my puzzles. And it means, one, I'm not on my phone just before bed, and two, I'm doing this thing that really fills me with joy just before bed. And I love it. And I've done it every night for a few weeks now. And I love that this is my new little routine. So like I've added something every day that fills me with joy. And I love it.
I love it. I love the example, and give yourself 5 minutes to do this because I know, as me, I'll be like, that's a great idea and not do it. So give yourself 5 minutes after this to be able to write a couple things that bring you joy, a couple things that frustrates you. So you can start to add those things into your life. I know for me, it's been a stressful time as I have moved across the country, and I now walk around the block with my dogs every single night. And it's something that I don't have to do because I have a yard now. I can let them go out in the yard. But for me, just to have some decompression time is something I'm adding into my day. It's keeping me active, it's getting me out. Hopefully, there's sunshine, being able to just give myself those moments, being with my dogs, being outside in nature, and so forth. And so I recommend really finding that list so you can start adding it into your life right now.
Mm, yeah, I love that. And I would also say this topic is a big one. And if you do want to chat more about it or want help, then do reach out. We always put our email at the bottom, and we're here to help. And we would love to chat more with you if you'd like.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you for coming to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
Where today we talked all about the importance of honoring yourself.